Christmas.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to Box, the exciting show where we open a box and decide if the box rocks or if it's a box full of rocks.
I don't know if this is going to be a good episode.
This pillow is fucking useless shirt.
Yeah.
Sometimes in life, you have to make a choice. Sometimes in life, you have to find your voice. Sometimes in life, you need your
Come on. Here we go. Yay!
I didn't know where you were going to go. I could see there was some,
birthday shenanigans, but we are here. Ahoy, ahoy. We are live here on a beautiful Friday evening on the internet. Here, we have a lot about movies. Proud to be part of the Pajunkin Network.
Yes, thank you, clever Eric, across the internet for me, as always.
And across the internet for me, as always, this is the birthday boy, handsome Dan.
Oh, well, then it's appropriate to do this.
Yes, it is. Woo!
It's my birthday.
Get ready to see a lot of that tonight.
How many times we'll cut to that? Thank you very much, Chad, by the way.
Too many. No, wait, no,
too
not
many.
enough.
Too many.
Not
Thank
enough.
You, Beef. Thank you, Drew. Yeah, we jumped around. It was one of those things, work schedule. My schedule's been all over the place. So we're like, we don't know what we're going to do, how we're going to schedule this. We couldn't do it last week. We're like, well, fuck it. We'll find a way to make it work this week. And it just happened to fall on today. So we're going to do our normal thing where we talk movies, and then Eric's going to have a fun hat on, and we're going to be celebrating my birthday. Cause that's just, I'm so happy. I'm so happy with that. And we're going to get to this too, which is bringing up. Yes, we will be getting to that as well.
That's right. We're here celebrating not only Dan's birthday, but also the birthday of our favorite bounty hunter, one of the most handsomest, second most handsomest man I know, Pedro Pascal. It's also his birthday today.
It's Pedro Pascal. There's a lot of David Biscuit's birthdays today.
Mm-hmm.
Pedro, I didn't know I shared a birthday with Pedro Pascal. That's pretty cool. David, we share a birthday with Pedro Pascal. That's awesome. There's another David B. I was growing up, shared a birthday with him. Share a birthday with the old crew goalkeeper with Zach Steffen. A lot of people. I feel like there was somebody else I got tagged with as well. I never knew that so many people shared this day. I'm honored and flattered, and we're here.
Well, I mean, you get it with Pedro Pascal. That's a huge honor. I have to share my birthday with Kanye West.
I mean, there's worse. There's worse than Kanye West.
I mean, yeah, there's always Hitler.
Yes, among others. Yeah, but Kanye's not bad. At least like you get to be the sane one.
For once.
For once, yes. Not normally. Should we talk movie stuff, or do you just want to keep talking birthdays?
We can go ahead and get into movies. I mean, since we have our new, like if we were in the movie theaters, have the three trailers before we get into this.
You said that right before we came on, and I'm like, that's kind of scary accurate. And I'm like, maybe it's probably better that we don't have theme songs for every other show because it's just going to keep getting longer and longer and longer, and you have to sit through everything. I don't mind it. Like they're both songs are fucking bangers, so I'm happy to sit there and like listen to them.
As the kids would say, they slap.
Yes.
As you can tell by what I'm wearing, I know what the kids are all about these days.
I would say Reef. I'm not a big Sweets guy, so
he is not. I can't.
That's kind of hard for me to pick. Although this is a pretty cool birthday, Drew. That's pretty cool. Jean-Claude Van Damme. The muscles from Brussels. That's pretty sweet. But yeah, movies.
Guile himself.
We're gonna talk some movies. There was quite a bit of news. The big thing that we missed 2 weeks ago was the Disney rearranging everything, and I think that's something we have to talk about. And then we also have to get to our thoughts on stuff and things because we haven't talked in 2 weeks, and a lot has happened since then. And then we're gonna get into the trailer park because that's something we haven't done on the new show, which I'm sure it's I'm sure someone else online would love to correct us because the trailer park is definitely not a fresh IP.
No, I'm sure it's been taken.
It's been taken before. We did before, Jesse. We did before on a previous one. We're very excited. I will say, since you brought it up, Mortal Kombat was delayed 1 week, and the rumor for that was so they're not going to like cannibalize from the Kong versus Godzilla audience. So it's just been pushed like 1 week. So it's now the third, I think, week in April that it's coming out. So that's the only thing, the only little bit of movie news about Mortal Kombat, aside from we're both really excited to see it.
I think it went from like the 16th to the 23rd.
Yes, that sounds right. So the third week in April. Yeah, I'm fine with that.
Yeah, I'm cool with that.
So let's talk about briefly. I want to make sure I hammer home on all these. Everyone was thinking that we were getting box office coming back to normal. We were going to be discussing like pretty much when movies were going to come back, like summer is going to come around. We're going to be on our way to being vaccinated. Movies are going to be opening again. And then Disney decided to rearrange their slate, and they announced that you were going to get Black Widow and Cruella day and date. Not quite like HBO Max. Like you are probably going to have to pay a premium. It'll be interesting to see if it's because they will still be doing a wide release. So it's going to be interesting to see if they keep it at that $30 price point. That hasn't been announced yet, but they did shift some of the dates around as well. So this is the third or the fourth set of release dates that we're having for I honestly have lost track at this point.
Well, I think they pulled Black Widow and then they announced it was going to be in May, and then they pushed it back to July now.
Yes, that's the date that I'm looking at anyway. And so like and then they were like Cruella is part of that as well, so it's not just Disney or MCU. They talk a lot about how the success of Raya and The Last Dragons. So
I know I had a friend trying to shit post Raya and The Last Dragon. I was like, no, don't you dare. And also, let's have a little fun with math, kids. So right now, Disney Plus has over 100 million subscribers. If just 5% of those people paid for to see it with the premium pass, that is about 50,000 people times $30 equals $150 million going right into Disney's pocket, as opposed to having to split it with the movie theaters and distribution. So, yeah, go ahead. Try to talk bad about the Last Dragon movie. I will put you in your place.
Well, and it's one of those things where
con baby.
It's also one of those things where like it was curious to see whether or not this was even going to work, because when they did it with Mulan, it was still so mid-pandemic, so like deep in September.
Yeah, and also I don't think Mulan was the best one to try to test that out on, just because there was too much controversy with it. Because I remember even thinking, like, even before we got into the pandemic, I was just like, I don't know if I'm going to pay to see this movie because of everything that goes along with it.
It was definitely an interesting. I think had they wanted to push Raya, that would have been a really good way to do it. Raya would have been a really good one to kind of test the waters on.
I think Raya was the perfect one to try to test this out on.
And then, but then you still got, they directly gave us Soul. Luca is the other one that is kind of interesting. I'm trying to think. It will stream exclusively on Disney Plus on June.
Yeah, that one's not going to theaters.
So
it's like Disney's like, hey, Pixar, I know you've been carrying us for so long. We need you to carry us a little bit longer on the streaming service.
A little bit further, just because and especially with like the numbers, like Disney Plus has been it for a streaming service that like when they first came out, has it been a full year yet?
Yes.
When they first came out, like they didn't even have all their own properties back. Like, sure, they still own them eventually, but they were like leased out to other streaming services.
Like Netflix still had a whole bunch of them. And it's weird just to think about because like when it came out, literally the main draw was to see The Mandalorian because that was the first original thing. Like you also had like High School Musical, the series.
Yeah, High School Musical, the series. I think that might be the full total.
The word suit for it. And then you also had, The World According to Jeff Goldblum.
Yes.
But it came out, I think, 3 months before we had to shut down for the pandemic. And then Hamilton, that's what.
Sure. Like really, which was interesting because they were, if I remember correctly, they weren't even, that wasn't supposed to be, that was changed mid-pandemic. Like they were sitting on that and that was going to be released later on.
It was originally, I think it was supposed to be released in the theaters around Christmas time.
Okay. Well, then
of 2020, and then they decided to push it to July on the streaming on Disney Plus.
Yeah,
well, I mean, these still could be released in the theaters and probably make a crap ton of money.
But I find it interesting too because Disney's doing something that like, and this will come up again later on because Chris brought up a great point when we're going to get talking to Netflix, but they've done a really good job about. Like even Mandalorian, the first season, it was like good, but it wasn't as highly regarded as this season. And like World According to Jeff Goldblum, honestly, I started watching it and I didn't continue. I'm like, this is fun, but it was like, it was kind of offbeat, if that makes any sense. Like it wasn't.
I mean, that's why I loved it. That's why I watched all of it.
I didn't watch all of it, but it's so interesting to see that like, I feel like Disney Plus kind of limped out of the gate. And now that they're like hitting their stride, like, I looked at I think I shared the photo in our group chat where it was like literally the release schedule for all the original content that's coming out to Disney Plus over the year. And it's like, they're going back to episodic TV. You're getting all of the Marvel shows and like, they're doing a great job of not oversaturating their product, which is what I think Netflix kind of does sometimes. And so I think it's really interesting how they're going from here. And this day and date business that they're doing is also, I think of really interesting, like supplemental parts of that. Cause I think it's interesting where it was like, clearly these are also properties that are going to do a lot of money, but like,
right.
I find it interesting comparing them almost to HBO. Anyway, let me do the dates first. And then we can talk about like the comparing to HBO Max. Cause they moved, Cruella is the one that wasn't listed. Where the hell did that go? For some reason, it's not like initially on here.
I think that's in May now.
Yeah. I feel like it moved up, if that makes sense. For an article, you think this would be better organized? Like I have so I have everything else but Cruella.
Yeah, May 28th is when it's scheduled to be released now.
Okay, so I was trying to see if I could find where it was moved from, which was the thing that was bothering me.
I think the original was July. July is Black Widow.
So
I think it was actually released for earlier in May.
So Black Widow moved to July 9th from May 7th. Free Guy moved to August 13th from May 21st. I think that's probably one of my biggest bummers is we have to wait longer to see these movies. Shanghai and the Legend of the Ten Rings moved to September 3rd from July 9th. The King's Man moved all the way to December 22nd from August 30th. Deep Water moved to January 14th from August 13th, and Death on the Nile moved to February 11th from September 17th. So they are really like stretching their release dates out.
Yeah.
Like, and that's, yeah, I mean, Reef, you bring up a great point. It's like the classic films and animated shorts. That was that too, but like that will only, and especially newer kids, like since Disney themselves as a brand, they're so focused on like children, like they're going to want to be seeing the newer things. They're not necessarily going to be wanting to seeing the older animation. That's going to be more nostalgia. That's going to be more geared towards people like us. At least that's how I think about it.
I was going to say, I think more people who are watching the Mighty Ducks Game Changer are in this age bracket.
Yes,
I got a birthday boy.
Oh, that should be a trigger like that.
Yeah.
Just let it ride. I did you watch the second episode yet? I have not.
I did. I watched it before this. I caught up on Falcon and Winter Soldier. I watched Mighty Ducks, and I watched Invincible.
Okay, I haven't. I watched the one, and then I had some other things to get done before we did our stream today. So sadly, I haven't watched Game Changers or Invincible yet. Those are the next two things I'll be watching. Although, like, clearly we can't go into spoilers for Kong versus Godzilla because I didn't see it because I'm a slacker and I haven't seen any of those movies. And that's if anyone here has opinions on that, I brought it up to another buddy of mine, and he was saying I should see them all. I've had other people saying I should see none. So let me know, what do I need to watch before seeing this, or if anything? Because that was my thing. I was just going to go in blind and watch some kaijus battle it out.
I would watch Skull Island just because it's the best one.
You liked Skull Island a lot, if I remember.
I did.
Correctly. Yeah, because we reviewed that.
Yeah,
did we review King of the Monsters? I can't remember.
We did. I did.
Okay. Well, clearly, because I didn't. That's why I can't remember it.
I mean, I've liked them all, but I mean, Kong Skull Island's probably the best one outside of Kong versus Godzilla.
So, with all those being said, like, how are you feeling about basically these movies? Disney they're not ripping the HBO Max format, but they're trying to do their own thing, and they're like, still. Do you think it's greedy of them? Like, we've had this discussion in different forms of the podcast, where if you're paying $30, even if you have two people watching, that's still a better deal. Right. You can pause it. You don't have the experience, but especially for a family, $30 should be doable. Like, right. If it's a family of four, even, that's 4 tickets that you're not having to buy, and that's for premiere access.
Right, and then you're not paying for snacks, the gas to get there.
But we also don't know
get that experience.
We don't get that experience, and they also haven't announced like how long after it'll just be streaming. Like when they take that premiere access down, and then here it is.
I think it's like 3 or 4 months afterwards,
which is kind of a long time. Like,
yeah,
to me, it would make sense if they kind of stepped it down, where it was like, you want to watch it the first month, it's $30. You want to watch it the second month, it's $20. Like, if they kind of gradually, that would make the most sense. But also, I don't,
Well, also at the same time, I doubt someone's gonna be like, you know what, it's gonna be on here in a day. Let's just go ahead and spend $30 now.
I mean,
that GameStop money.
You say you have that GameStop money. We Ramble on now legally have to tell you that we are not financial advisors, and
right.
we cannot
I do not own GameStop.
Not own GameStop or GameStop stock.
Correct.
Or GameStop.
GameStop
stomp. Stonks.
Yeah,
Stonks.
I don't even have my membership to GameStop anymore.
I don't have my membership. I never had one actually to GameStop. I was always the mom and pop buy sell trade stores. So that was a lot of fun. Nice. But I mean, like, I clearly for a lot of these, I know for like Black Widow, I'll be doing a premiere access. For Free Guy, I'll be doing a premiere access. Here's the one where it starts to get different. Will you do one for Cruella?
I don't know, because here's the other thing. Like, you've gotten your second shot, right?
I will be fully vaccinated, or I will have my second shot this time next week.
Okay. Yeah, I get my second shot on the 14th of this month. So I've done the math. May 5th is when I'm fully vaccinated.
Is it 2 or 3 weeks after your second shot?
I got Pfizer, so I know it's 2 weeks after May.
2 weeks. I think that's kind of a good catch-all. So my wife has her second shot, so she will, in about 2 weeks, she'll be good to go. And then 2 weeks after that, because it just, the way the scheduling wound up working out, like she got Pfizer and I got Moderna just because We were like, we don't care. Here's the arm. Like, shoot it.
Yeah. But what I was gonna say is because I was like, okay, so May 5th is when I'm fully vaccinated. I'd be willing to see Black Widow in the theater. Now, Gorilla, am I willing to see that in the theater? I don't know. But would I prefer the option to stay safe at home and pay $30 to watch it? Why not? Because again, it's no different if I took my wife to go see it and we bought one snack. That is about $27 right there.
And that's Ohio prices. Like I know I now live in LA, so that's would that be Friday night, like opening night prices?
Yeah.
Okay.
Maybe like even Saturday afternoon. I might be able to get a soda. But again, you're still
splurging. You're splurging.
I know. This is one of the few times where I can actually brag about the economics classes I took in college, where if you literally look down and crunch the numbers, it's the same. Now, for the people who are like, yeah, but we're paying Disney for something that for a service we already paid for. It's like, yeah, it's also called a movie theater. You're paying to go see that at the movie theater, but you don't have to deal with the hassle of getting up, going to the car, driving, paying for gas to get there, wear and tear in your car to get there, wear and tear in your insanity to find that parking spot.
And it's one of those things I think that'll be a longer discussion, especially as the pandemic, I don't want to say winds down, because we're going to be dealing with this at least for another year in one form or another. But I think, especially since this industry shuttered as violently as it did,
right,
I'm hoping we get a more rise of mid-budget films, because it's for a very long time.
We'll probably have to.
Yeah, for a very long time. But that's the thing, is like a lot of the time, those mid-budget movies are going like directly to streaming. So I'm hoping you get them a little bit back in the theaters. But what I find it, I hope I didn't lose my train of thought, because what I find interesting is like there was a big disparity for a long period of time where it was like either you had your summer blockbusters, which were like trending really high, or you had indies. Like there was no room for a mid-budget film. Yeah. And so it'll be interesting to see where it goes, and that'll tie into one of our stories that we're going to talk about later, because I'm just so curious, because the spectacle is what people are like. That I think you will never be able to replace. Like we both have a really nice. Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, like I watched Kong versus Godzilla on Wednesday when HBO Max dropped it. Would I have loved to see this on an IMAX screen and have my bones shattered by the Dolby sound?
I was going to say, I think this is the closest thing I could do. I could hook it up to my 4K and I could put on some Bose noise canceling headphones, and that's probably as close as I could get.
Right, but that's as close as you can get. But that's one of those movies where it's like, man, I really wish I could see it in the theater. It's one of those ones like, here's a good example. When we saw, we would never be able to get this type of experience when we saw Doctor Strange 3D in IMAX. And that was probably the best movie I've seen in 3D. And it was in IMAX. And that was like that type of, you're going to be getting those marquee experiences. You'll get the Dolby Digitals. You'll get the IMAX screenings. Like, those I don't think will go anywhere. I'm worried about like the in-betweens and like your everyday average run-of-the-mill showings, especially because I think companies are finding out that these other avenues are viable and going direct to streaming. And I think it's interesting. I would not have like predicted that Warner Brothers was going to be the first one to jump on it and be like, nope, here's our slate. Like, this is what we're doing this year. So I find it curious. It's a little bit, I feel like it's almost a little bit more exclusive, the HBO Max one, because I think is that what, $15 a month right now? Is that what it's priced at? And Disney's only like $8 or $9. Yeah, I think Disney actually went up.
I think they just did their first price hike recently.
I don't know. I paid for the 3 years in advance, so I don't have to worry about price hikes yet.
I didn't do the 3 years because I have it bundled with Hulu and ESPN Plus. So I'm sure
that's what I would have done if I did do the 3 years.
I'm sure it would have been like when they did the price, it'll be like another like Netflix. They'll just slowly like tick it up. Like basically what happens is we are all frogs boiling in water, where they're just going to keep increasing the temperature until we don't realize it. And we're like, wait a minute, why am I paying $80 for Netflix? And be like, oh, it's just been incrementally increasing over the last 30 years.
Oh, don't worry. I've been debating getting rid of Netflix every once in a while. Just to teach them a lesson.
Well, okay. Since we're talking Netflix, let's talk the story and since it was kind of a nice segue anyway, because the big story that came out of Netflix was Netflix bought the rights to Knives Out 2 and 3. I can't tell whether or not you're lagging for everyone or if it's just me.
I don't know. One way to find out.
Like, I get your audio, but I'm getting some pixelated Eric right now. So
by the way, I have a whole baggie of these.
Oh, good. I'm shocked I didn't get some in my mail this morning. So the big news was they bought the rights to Knives Out 2 and 3, and Daniel Craig will be returning with Rian Johnson writing. And they went so far as to say they're casting immediately, and it begins shooting in June.
Greece. Yep,
in Greece in June. Yeah. So Matt said you're a little laggy as well. So I don't know. Maybe shut down all the other tabs you have. This is the interesting part I want to bring up about this conversation. Like, clearly we love Knives Out here. We do. Mm-hmm. Lots of people do. It was very profitable. I think they said it was made. This is a good example. This was a mid-budget movie. It was made for $40 million, grossed over $311 million. So they made their money back and then some. And I think that one of the reasons they're casting it this way, I went through and I watched all the behind the scenes because it was one of those I just love devouring. They basically wrote this movie and they got it made. I think the whole turnaround between not inception of the idea, but like really getting going in pre-production, I think it was under 2 years, which is unheard of for a movie like this. So essentially they got everything ready to go. And then like maybe, I think they said it was like 5 or 6 months out. They were like, we're booking you now. Like it's not like, because you think about these actors who have like these massive contracts in Marvel stuff and like they're already booked out for years in advance sometimes. Right. So what they did was they found people who was like, what are you doing in 5 weeks? You want to shoot a movie for like 3 weeks up in New England. And that's how they got this cast.
And it was a great cast.
Exactly. I think though they might have a little bit of luck doing that again, especially coming out of the pandemic and going into a foreign country. I think those are two things they have going for them. So I would not be surprised to see a equally on par Knives Out 2 cast of like what we just saw from the first one. And that was end of 2019. Okay. Since the world turned upside down, it's hard to remember things sometimes.
Hamilton.
Even more so than normal.
That's right. But no, when I read that news, like, oh, this is so exciting. This is what I want. Because I knew that Rian Johnson's working on it. So, like, I'm happy now to know that not only am I getting a second Benoit Blanc movie, I'm getting a third.
We just get to hear Daniel Craig sound more and more like Foghorn Leghorn, and I'm not mad about it. Not mad.
We're talking about donut hole inside the donut hole.
It's a small hole. Why was I hired?
I do not know. But I'm so excited, and like I know everyone on movie Twitter. So like, who do you want casting this? My pitch: the cast of The Last Jedi.
That was what I saw a lot of, where it was like Adam Driver and Kelly Marie Tran and like a lot of people to pull from there, and I wouldn't be surprised to see anyone there. I would love
it if he can get. I don't think he can Adam Driver because he's still doing that Gucci movie, but yeah.
We have a special guest from Parts Unknown. I don't know where the parts he is, but look at this guy.
I don't know where the parts I am either.
Oh, sorry. You didn't. You haven't been here, so every time Eric does that, I have to do this.
Yeah.
That was a little underwhelming.
Well, rude.
I just wanted to come for like a minute and wish you a very happy birthday.
Thank you.
I'm sure you're talking about movie news and lots of fun stuff, but
yes,
you become a very good friend of mine over this past year. I am honored to know you, and on behalf of myself, I wish you nothing but the best and all my love and a joyous birthday, and hopefully you do something more exciting than just this show.
Oh. Well, I mean, yes, but this show is also extremely exciting. Thank you, Maxwell.
Oh, I mean, absolutely thrilling in every sense. I love it. It's one of the best shows on the PJCN.
They're all the
top 10.
definitely in the top 10 of the shows
Definitely
we have
in
on
the
the
top
network.
10.
Definitely.
I don't know if we have 10 shows.
Yeah. Well, I just wanted to stop by and say that, and I love you, and I'm sure I'll see you later when I'm back home, and maybe we'll have a virtual drink together.
Yes. Oh, for sure.
All right.
All right.
Enjoy your parts unknown.
Bye, guys.
Thanks, Max. And we have thank you for coming in, communities. Good to see you in the Foghorn Leghorn voice.
I said, now come here, boy.
So good. But the conversation I wanted to bring up, Chris, other founding member of Ramble on, brought up, he was, I want to say nonplussed, but he was less than enthused to hear about Netflix taking Knives Out, only because, and he brought up a great point, where what was the last Netflix movie, A, you watched, and B, when was it?
Are we including documentaries, or are we talking like original Netflix movies?
Either. I'll take either.
Well, I watched the Operation Varsity Blues, their documentary on the college admissions scandal, and that was Tuesday. Okay. And what about before that? Again, probably Saturday or Sunday, watched another one of their murder shows.
So he brought up a great point where it's Netflix is, they're vomiting content at this point.
Yes.
Like there's so much content coming out from Netflix. Like he was worried
if Netflix was to blow one of these, all this is just the content coming out of Netflix's mouth. And then they would add on another one to further demonstrate how much content they have.
Little did you know that those would be used for visual aid tonight too.
It's only because my whiteboard's in another room.
Yeah. Oh, well, yeah, no. If she was in there with you, she'd be like, stop it. So he brought up a great point where it was like, yeah, so Netflix, you have to think of, like, the last one I watched was Trial of Chicago 7, and it was specifically for like our end of the year review. Yeah. And so I feel like outside of prestige films, like they've done a really good job of marketing prestige movies or awards movies. Mm-hmm. And I find it curious that this is the first time, like, because they do blockbuster movies. Like I watched Project Power. I enjoyed Project Power. When was the last time we talked about Project Power? A week after it came out? But we're still, that's the point, is we're still talking about Knives Out, the first one, a year and a half later. And now that they're official with Netflix, do you think there's any scenario, and this is my what if I want to pose to you. Okay. Do you think that there's any scenario that Netflix will do an actual theatrical run with one of those movies or both of those movies?
I mean, they'll do what they do because they actually bought a movie theater in LA, I believe, the Pharaoh. So they could just, you could probably go see Knives Out 2, Grease Attacks,
Knives Out 2, Electric Boogaloo.
Right. Knives Out 2, Zeus's Revenge. Since it's in Greece. I
watched that one too. I like the Old Guard Reef. Like I liked it. It was a good movie. But then again, it was like, I feel like there's a difference to me too. And I'm sorry I cut you off, Eric. There's a difference to me too versus like movies that are made that Netflix is buying versus Netflix productions. Because I think the Old Guard was
Old Guard was a Netflix production. And for me, I could tell, like, when all your big action set pieces take place in small rooms.
Fair.
But like with Knives Out, with the Knives Out sequels or whatever he's going to call them, I hope it's not Knives Out 2 and Knives Out 3. That would just be bleh.
I don't. That's the only thing is like, I hope he keeps saying a Rian Johnson whodunit, because that's a lot of fun.
That is. But like, I won't be able to tell that Rian Johnson made those, but not on a Netflix's production. I want him how it looked with the first one. Now, maybe because the first one only cost $40 million, he might be able to, maybe a little bit more because he had to pay Daniel Craig more for sequels. But
I mean, maybe I'm assuming that's part of because when it was purchased for $450 million, and I'm sure Daniel Craig will be not only paid handsomely, I'm sure he will be getting a producer credit as well. Like he will be fine. And I would not be surprised. This is my soft prediction. I would not be surprised if it was like blah blah blah, a Benoit Blanc story. Like I think it's going to be something
how they're going to market them from now on. Yeah,
which I'm fine with. I'm going to be selfish. I want an Hercule Poirot for my generation, and I think he can be that Southern Foghorn Leghorn voice, and we can really get that. But I mean, like, can you think of a way around? And even kind of turning it on its head, could this movie be the thing that actually solves that for Netflix? That actually gives them that kind of lasting, like, social footprint that they don't really have outside of like Stranger Things.
I don't think it's going to be this that does it. I think eventually Netflix is going to learn from what HBO Max and what Disney is doing, where it's going to be quality versus quantity. Netflix is all about the quantity. Like, literally, you can go on to Netflix every day and there's a new movie they're trying to push in your face.
I don't remember whether or not we talked about it, but I remember reading that they were trying to do a new movie once a week, every week this year.
Like, I think there's one with Idris Elba that came out this week. Or at least it's coming out soon. I don't know. It's something about cowboys.
Oh, that's Concrete Cowboy?
Concrete Cowboy. That's
it. Got it.
You did it.
The only reason it was because, like, the screensavers, when you leave it up and they play through everything and everyone's left Netflix up, and Concrete Cowboy is one of the ones that was on there. But the only reason I remember it is because when we did it last time, because we're watching Great British Bake Off again, because of course we are. Going through it, it had a Concrete Cowboy, but there was no picture. So that's why I remember it.
Yeah, that was released today. Now, I would never have known that because Netflix is not on my things to watch today.
Yeah, well, there's a lot of other content coming out from other places, from Disney Plus and then some Amazon Prime. Do you have more to talk about Netflix, or should we take the Idris Elba and have a nice little segue?
Oh, let's take the segue. You know us, Dan. We're the segue guys.
Oh yeah, we're nothing if not professional, and we go seamlessly from one topic to the other. So speaking of it, damn it, I have to keep clicking back and forth. I know, right? I was almost clicked away and forgot it. And thank you, Reef Plug. Concrete Cowboy is now available on Netflix. Yep. So Idris Elba, the thing that I got really excited for was we finally got our first full look
at James Gunn,
The Suicide Squad, both red band and green band trailers, and they're quite different. Which
the tone is completely different.
I really appreciated. Mm-hmm. The cast looks phenomenal, outstanding. Mm-hmm. I like that you're still getting a great balance of jokes and camaraderie, but it does feel vastly different from Guardians, because that like Guardians, by the time you got through 2, it was very much like familial feeling, where it's like these guys really, you can tell, are just kind of like crawling through the mud together, but they're not doing it like for each other.
It actually feels different than the first Suicide Squad movie, which is the right move.
Yeah, well, but that was the other thing I said right after this trailer came out, where I was like, I've also been burned by a good Suicide Squad trailer before.
Well, there's no Queen in this one, so
I would have taken Queen in this one.
Maybe in the next one he'll do that.
Yes, that is your hand. God, why did it take Sylvester Stallone so long to voice a giant shark?
Well, James Gunn probably had to convince him.
I think I remember reading a tweet about that, and he was like, he called me up and he was like, I got something for you to do. And Sly was like, okay.
I mean, it's going to be a second best voice work I've heard since him as Rambo in the new Mortal Kombat game.
Ooh, I didn't know he was a DLC. I might have to boot that back up again. I think is it still for 11, or is this for a new game? 11? Okay, I got to go look, and I'm trying to think if I even got, because they have some sweet downloadable characters. I played a Spawn. I know they have the Terminator.
They have RoboCop and Rambo. They got all the 80s guys right there.
Oh, that's a lot of fun. Anyway, but yeah, I'm so happy to see Idris, and I love
John Cena steals the
exactly.
show.
The more John Cena you give me, the happier I am, especially because I love how genuinely funny he is.
Well, not only that, like I also love how the two trailers they show both extremes of his personalities. Like his whole character's motivation is like, I am here to keep and maintain peace. And one, he's like, you know what? If this beach was covered in dicks, I will eat every single one of these up proudly for America, for freedom. And then the other one's like, I'll do anything for freedom. I'll kill every man, woman, and child here. And it's just like, what?
Well, and let's not forget they're tying that this is like a backdoor pilot
for his HBO series,
and we're going to be getting an HBO Max series of The Peacemaker. So that's just great. And like you said, it makes me want to go watch Birds of Prey, because I still haven't seen that yet, and I know you have.
I did.
Then we could do the full on the ranking of the DCEU movies, which we'll get to that. We're not quite there yet. But yeah,
it was a great trailer. I love, and what I really like about this movie, you could tell, is they're letting you know it's a Suicide Squad, and people are going to die in this one. There is, and it isn't like the first one. We're like, oh yeah, here's just two random characters we're going to introduce and have them die within 5 minutes.
Oh, you mean we're not getting Slipknot just showing up to die 5 minutes later?
He can climb anything.
The man who can climb anything and die anything. I don't know. Sure, why not? Yeah,
no, I feel King Shark's going to steal the show. Idris Elba's going to be great in this, but I'm most excited. What's that?
Polka Dot Man. Who is Nathan Fillion in it?
He is Arm Fell Off Boy.
Arm Fell Off Boy. Okay.
There is a hero who was part of the Legion of Superheroes whose superpower ability is he can take off his arms and use them as weapons.
Okay. I was trying to say,
you got to remember there was a lot of cocaine going on during these pits during the 60s and 70s when they had to come up with these heroes.
Was he in the green band but not the red band?
He was in both. In the red band, you only see him once. He's the guy who's walking, sipping the Mr. Pibb.
Okay. Because I was going to say, I remember there being a shot behind the green band where it was like you see a guy go like this and his arms come off of his body.
Yeah, that's Nathan Fillion.
Okay. I remember him more vividly, and I remember the Mr. Pibb shot too. So
yeah,
and
I don't know. Something tells me he's going to be one of the early ones to go.
It does make me really happy that they literally just took the original Suicide Squad and then just cherry picked the parts that they like to put into this one. And they also improve Flag. What's the actor's name? Joel. Oh, Kinnaman.
Kinnaman. Yep. Like Sarah, you know her. She's like, he actually looks good in this one. Like. He's a character I can tolerate.
Well, that and they're bringing back Captain Boomerang, which is the best Jai Courtney we've ever seen. Thank you, Mike. Get it ready. Get it ready. I shouldn't have so much power doing this. But yeah,
the best Jai Courtney was in the Spartacus series. If you never watched it, watch it.
I have not seen the Spartacus series. Oh, we have more guests. More guests coming in. Hi.
Hi.
You're here for the cake.
Yeah. So when are we starting the party?
Oh, we did start the party, and every time that happens, this has to happen.
Yay! Yay. I wish I had known. I would have had some sort of noise-making device.
Well, I'm sad because I didn't have time. I had enough time to find the GIF, but I couldn't find the video clip. If I would have found the video clip to throw up there every time, it would have been just as good as our normal segues. But unfortunately, it's not. We were talking the new Suicide Squad trailers. What are your thoughts on that?
I liked it. I liked it a lot. I think that
hi.
I think that they, have a really good feel to them. They have a good voice, I think, and they
good mouth feel or other feel?
Both.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. And they definitely 100% feel like James Gunn. Like it's like very like if you didn't know he was directing it,
yes,
and you watched that trailer, you would know who directed it.
Yes,
you can. It's his sense of humor, and you can see how he's evolved as a filmmaker pretty linearly. You can just look. Right down, start at Slither, and then just draw a line and see where he's gone. So
yeah, it's he's definitely got an interesting way of doing humor that I think that not a lot of people can pull off. In that he knows, you know, how to do that self-deprecating kind of, you know, I know I'm being funny and I know I'm doing it at my own expense, but I'm also not going to play into that fact. Like it's a really narrow line, and I don't know a lot of other filmmakers who can kind of do that. So it's really interesting to see when he pulls in a bunch of different actors, like how they're going to work with that style. So there's like a couple people in this that I'm really interested to see like how they work with him, because I think they could be genius together. So like like I'm really excited to see John Cena.
We were just talking about that.
Yeah. And then maybe not like the biggest star of the thing, but Flula Borg is one of the most hilarious people on the planet. And I literally cannot wait to see like what they do. And if he like dies without having like anything to do, I'm going to cry because he's so funny. And I think him and James Gunn would just be like perfect.
It's so much of it. Like I love that the tone is all over the place in a bonkers good way. It's one of those things where it's like, I'm so excited for that movie to come out. Yeah. Like Mike said it too, where he's like, he's so in for it. I am too.
Yeah,
like this is, I'm happy that James Gunn got fired from Marvel long enough to go make this movie. We'll put it that way. He got to play in both.
When one door closes, another one opens.
Exactly. And but that's the thing is like, John Cena is literally all over the place. You tease us, Tim. You tease us.
Tim.
Yeah.
How dare you?
Your cousin's a tease, and thank them for that tidbit. No, but I'm really happy. I hope we get John Cena for many more years, because he was my favorite part of Trainwreck. He was great in Blockers. I love he has like I'm waiting. He will be. I was listening to a podcast the other day, and they were saying that the first professional wrestler to really get an Oscar could be Batista, and I'm like, that's a good dark horse, because if you look at him in like Blade Runner 2049, he's only in the movie for about 15 minutes, but like he leaves a big
impact. Yeah,
exactly. I think we're getting to a point where you'll get to see some of these guys really stretch their legs, and I think those are two that really can do it. Like Batista, when he plays like against type, when he did his Cop and a Half, I loved My Spy from last year. But Cena is also one of those ones where his comedic chops literally cannot be denied.
Yeah. I'm really interested in that because I think Dwayne Johnson is so typecast.
And somewhat purposefully.
Yeah.
Like he doesn't do it himself.
Right.
Oh, I agree with that. I just wonder like if he could break away and like really do like a really like standout performance, because he's definitely got talent, right? Like he's not one note. He can do more. It's just he does.
Well,
very
it's weird because when he was first breaking away from wrestling, he was the family film guy. Like he did.
Yeah.
He signed a contract with Disney.
Yeah. Like what was it? The Game Plan, and then the Tooth Fairy,
Tooth Fairy.
Race from Witch Mountain remake. Like he did all those kids films, and then people thought, well, he's not going to be able to escape that. And he did. I think it was Fast 5 or Fast 6, the first one.
Yeah,
he was in 5. Was the first one he was in?
Yeah, when Hobbs showed up for the first time, and that rejuvenated his career.
Well, and it's funny because he had 2 movies like before all that went down, like in Walking Tall and in The Rundown, which was like you could see the glimpses of where his career was going to go.
He was really good in Walking Tall, like really good.
Yeah, like I think
he could do something. I think he could do something really good.
It's going to be interesting, I think, but that's the thing is like, especially for people who are at their level, I think Batista being in 2049 is probably the closest thing we've gotten like to seeing them do, because he still has a big physical part, but like the quiet parts of the scene scene that precede it, like make it so much more impactful. And I think
they'll also literally he's in with Danny Nueva, who's going to do Oscar caliber film. So like I'm looking forward to seeing what Dave does in Dune.
Yes.
Yeah.
I'm happy we're getting him back. Yeah. So it'll be interesting because I think they're either going to have it written for them or they're going to have to seek it out. I don't think it's something that it won't fall into their lap, but these are also people who have like, if they were looking for it, they could just tell their agent like, hey, I want to do something, even if it's a short, like I want to that's something that they would have to do. I remember hearing about like the reason we have Will Smith as he is today is because he and his agent in the 90s, they were like, we are going to map your career path, and you are going to take a role like X, you're going to take a role like Y, which is why he had those summer blockbusters and why he became one of the most bankable film stars of all time, because they made that plan. So I think it'll be interesting to see if and when any of them decide to do that, because I would love to see it. I would love to see, especially ones that we know can do it. Because like, and this is actually a perfect group to think about it. Think about the first time you saw John Cena on Psych.
Yeah, that's true.
he was fine, but he wasn't what we have now. Like even when he came back to Psych, when they teased him at the end of the first Psych movie, you can see a night and day difference, like how much more comfortable he is on camera. Like he literally, they all, like the WWE is, I actually know somebody who did a small part for him, because I read Eric Earmuffs, because it is scripted and because the outcomes are.
You mean the thing I've known since I was 6 is true?
I didn't want to shatter the illusion for you. But essentially she played like a barista who saw like 2 wrestlers having coffee or something. And like, she was still getting, like, I don't think she had her lines till like 3 hours before she had to tape. And like, that's a normal thing for them. Like, it's just, it's kind of like having to do a soap opera. When you do a soap opera, you have to shoot like 20 some odd pages a day, which is unheard of. And it's like ludicrous. So you learn
to do it in front of a live audience with, then you have all the TV crews there. Yeah.
So it's interesting to see how certain people navigate that, and then how they leave, and how they navigate that, and how they navigate their career post wrestling. So yeah, I'm just so curious about all of that.
You want to talk about a really big career change, and I feel like the Scorpion King is the one.
that's where it started.
I think the Scorpion King is the one.
with the gorgeous CGI that holds up really well.
No, that's the Mummy too. That's different.
Well, no, I'm saying as the character.
Oh, okay. I thought you were talking about the solo film he did.
Well, also that.
Yeah.
Also, yes.
Yeah, also that. Yeah.
So, but and other thoughts on Suicide Squad? I feel like we could quickly move on from that. There was a trailer, Kristen, you wanted to discuss.
Yeah, and then I have to bounce to do something else. So there's a great filmmaker from Japan called Mamoru Hosoda, who is one of the most genius filmmakers who's working right now. He's kind of the I'd say like the spiritual successor to Miyazaki in terms of just what he offers to the world of filmmaking. And they're different studios, but at the same time, like I think that because Hayao Miyazaki is retired, he's kind of like this current generation's version, and he makes really great movies. If you've not seen any of them, he like Wolf Children is really good. Summer Wars is really great. I really like A Girl Who Leapt Through Time. It's a great time travel, also like romance thing. It's cool. You guys should check them out if you guys haven't seen them. But there's a new trailer out for a movie called Belle, which comes out in Japan this summer. And I don't know when we'll get it in the United States, unfortunately, because the licensing doesn't always allow for those movies to be directly here.
Sure.
But yeah, so I'm really excited about it. The trailer looks absolutely gorgeous. Mm-hmm. And I'm really excited. Yeah, I'm so excited for it. The color palette and like the design choices and the fact that they're putting out this movie about like escaping into this online realm in the current time frame is like, that's it. That's really good. Yeah, that's it. That's really good.
I mean, do you know, was the production pre-COVID? Do you know?
I'm not 100% sure. I really only heard that there was another one coming out like a couple weeks ago, honestly. Like I don't like follow like the in production stuff, because some of these can take so long to work and actually like get out to the mainstream. Like, yeah, the like animated ones can take a long time. So I don't try and follow like the in-production things. And then all of a sudden I was like, wait, there's another one coming out. And then wait, there's a trailer, and wait, it's coming out like in a couple months. So it's all been a big surprise. But yeah, Mike in the chat brings up a cool thing is they brought together a lot of different artists and story designers and stuff for this one. So it's got a lot of inspiration from all over the place, which I think is really cool.
And it does, like, I watched that trailer as well. It looks like a Studio Ghibli film. Like, you can tell the vibe, the feeling of it. It looks like it's, and like, that's just like the tip of the iceberg with those movies. Like, not only do they look gorgeous, but they're just like, they'll hit you in the feels. They'll go all over the place as far as story goes. And like, so, and like how you were saying, it's like a spiritual successor to Miyazaki. Like, it's really exciting. Yeah.
And I'd say if you're going to watch any of, Hosoda's movies, is just be prepared. They're all fairly bittersweet. They mostly have happy endings, but at the same time, none of those happy endings come without an amount of sadness to them, which I think mirrors real life anyway. But they deal with a lot of like real things in a hugely fantasy world. He sets everything he does in a fantasy type situation, but then they mirror a lot of real world things that struggle with like loss and finding your place. And so I think he's a genius filmmaker, and not enough people talk about his work or have seen it. So if you haven't seen it and want to branch out, they're not the easiest to find, because unlike Studio Ghibli, they're not just like being thrown at you by HBO Max.
Right.
But if you can find any of his stuff, I would highly, highly recommend it.
One more time. Give me his name.
Mamoru Hosoda.
Mamoru Hosoda.
Yeah, I tweeted it out earlier.
Okay.
You can find it on my Twitter.
What is that Twitter?
Yeah, you can find it on my Twitter at Smith_K10, the number, not the word.
Yep.
Yeah. But yeah, I do have to.
Successful.
Yeah, I know. I do have to jump off and go do something else.
Well, thank you for stopping by.
Yeah, I just wanted to come and wish you happy birthday.
Appreciate it. Oh, damn it. Clicking. We're going to get a lot of use out of that. Out of that gift.
Well, I hope someone else comes in and makes you use it again.
We'll see what happens.
Yeah,
Eric will probably make me use it again. Let's be honest.
That's true. Yeah.
Thanks, Kristen.
Thanks, Kristen. Bye, guys.
See you soon. All right. So I'd
like to point out a comment from Reef put in the comments there.
What? Which this one?
Yep. We know.
Some people do, some don't. I always have to put
Still
disclaimers
real to
on
me,
it.
damn it.
Yeah. Are these tears real? Man, tears are real. All right, let's stick with trailers. So we talked about another trailer briefly. Let's say Spiral. Spiral is a trailer. That was the thing that we talked about. We covered it on the old show.
Oh my God, you're right.
You remember when we talked about it and it was like, okay, wait, Chris Rock and Samuel L. Jackson?
Remember being in the same room, Dan?
I do. Many moons ago, I remember that. So Spiral is they're doing it in it's a story or the Book of Saw. I think that's the subtitle.
It's from what I've gathered from the trailer, it looks like it's set up in the Saw universe.
Yes, correct.
So it could be a completely different serial killer.
Yes, and they are, especially how the trailer puts it out there, is it is a copycat of Jigsaw.
Yep.
So, because apparently, like, I watched the first two, and I think there are like 8 or 9 total. No, I mean that's a different movie. No Book of Eli. No, it was the Book of Jigsaw. Or Book of Saw, I think. Excuse me. But it's done by Chris Rock. I do like. Yeah, and they just check out the trailer because that's what we're talking about right now. So it won't spoil anything because this is all in the trailer. But thank you, Mike. This is 8 including Jigsaw. So there were 7 Saw movies and then Jigsaw. So this is the first like for lack of a
I've
better
watched
term.
maybe like
Spinoff.
2 or 3 of them. My favorite one is the one that deals with the health insurance business in America. And oh my God.
I
And I
didn't see
didn't
that
realize. Oh, I think it was 5. I think it was 5 where it's really like he's torturing the head of a health insurance company, the one who denied his coverage.
That's awesome.
So he's making him go through all of it. I'm just like, am I supposed to feel bad here?
I watched 1 and 2, and I liked 1 because it gave us Lee Winnell and it gave us James Wan. Those two pretty much directly came from that movie, and they've gone on to just massively explode, and they're great creators. So I like that. And then I kind of liked how 2 like turned 1 back on itself. So, and then once you got further along, I'm like, they can only keep doing that trick so many times that I'll like it. But this, I do like seeing, we're getting more serious Chris Rock, which I do like. I like seeing him like work another gear. Like I like seeing that. I need to watch Fargo because
he was really good in this season of Fargo.
Yeah, and Samuel L. Jackson too. I like that we're getting him playing his dad, which is in the trailer as well. So that's going to be a really interesting dynamic between the two of them. And yeah, but aside from that, it kind of looked like a Saw movie. What are your thoughts on this?
When I first heard that Chris Rock was going to do a Saw movie, I was like, well, there's a sense I never had here in my life, right next to my dad getting a cell phone.
Now, is he using emojis yet?
No. My dad's got one of the jitterbugs. So it was a flip phone with the really big buttons. He's still trying to figure out how to send pictures.
Oh, man. But your mom has an iPhone?
No, my mom has a Android.
Oh, okay. But she has a smartphone. My mom has an iPhone. She wanted an iPhone. So, but yeah, it's.
But no, so, I mean, good for this is something he's passionate about. It's clearly showing in this trailer that this is something he wanted to do. So I'm looking forward to see how he does this.
Yes. So it's, I mean, especially when it's like, I think he might be executive producing too. So he's
I think that's listed that he's an executive producer. So
I think that's why we brought it up initially anyway. So yeah, I mean, that looks good. I think we'll just hop on. We have one more trailer and it'll be another short one to discuss. The Wrath of Man, or just Wrath of Man, which is where I got Wrath of Dan from. Because I mean, apparently I have to be foreboding on my birthday. Who knows? I did say it.
Mister, I turned 35 today, but you look like you're 25.
You humble me. You humble me, sir. You flatter me.
Well, it's either that I could say you look old as shit. I mean, which one do you want?
Either way, we'll see. It's all the lighting. It's good creative lighting.
Oh, it depends on the lighting.
Yes, and the camera work and all the makeup. This takes 4 hours to do.
Your wife does a really beautiful job with it.
Speaking of men who age well, Jason Statham is in a movie called Wrath of Man.
A Guy Ritchie film.
A Guy Ritchie film. And this is not, most of Guy Ritchie's films, like, I mean, outside of like King Arthur, most of them are Guy Ritchie, born and bred, all his story. This is based on another movie that already exists. So this was a Guy Ritchie screenplay, and Jason Statham is playing a armored car, like security man who has a dark past, because they always have dark pasts. And then it doesn't look quite like your stereotypical Guy Ritchie London gangster film. So I'm a little bit more excited for that. And every time you get kind of like a sidestep of that, normally Jason Statham's involved. I feel like The Gentleman is like one of those exceptions that proves the rule, because it feels like he should have been in that movie given their long track record. But that being said, I love it when they work together. What did you think of this trailer?
Oh, I thought it was a great trailer. I thought there's a good story ready to be told with this, and I hope, and you know, the action's going to be good because it's Jason Statham.
Yes.
Say what you will about him looking great in anything, but he knows how to do action.
He does, correct.
Say what you will about his work in the Meg, he knows how to pull off a good action sequence.
It's a Meg.
And I love the Meg.
I still haven't watched it.
It's a good bad movie.
I do like good bad movies.
And there's something you'll discover with this. He's really good with kids. Like he should do like if Batista couldn't do My Spy, Jason Statham could have done it. Like he is that good with kids. Like me, who was I watching with? I know my wife was there, and I think all of my family members were there too. We're all like, He's really good with that little girl.
Nice. That's good.
Good chemistry.
You like to see it, but also he's another man who looks like he hasn't aged in 25 years.
Yeah, no, like if you want I'm quite sure if you take a picture from when he was in Snatch and compared it to how he looks now in Wrath of Man,
yeah,
you have to look really close to the screen to find the differences.
Same guy, like the same guy. Him, Paul Rudd. We need to. Oh, now I need to write my spec script for, what? How would it be a universe? What the crap is that thing called? The guy who looks at the portrait, but he gets older. Dorian Gray. It's going to be the Dorian Gray Society, and it's going to be all these men who just like Stanley Tucci will be there too, and we're just going to have like all these guys who've looked the same for 30 years.
Because the thing with Paul Rudd also is he's gotten better looking over the age, which is weird.
That was a great line from a movie I didn't watch, from This Is 40, where Leslie Mann says it's unfair that, you know, he keeps getting older, but he somehow gets better looking. Lots of shrugs. So, I mean, Wrath of Man, it's Guy Ritchie and Jason Statham. You're sold on that, and then you watch a pretty good action trailer.
And he shoots Post Malone in the face, it looks like, which I'm okay with.
Oh
no, I kid. I really like his cover of Hootie the Blowfish is I Only Want to Be With You.
Mike, that's a good name. The Fountain of Youthniverse. Youthniverse? It's close. We'll workshop it. I like where your head's at. I'll call you. All right.
His people call your people.
All the people calling. So we've reached the end of everything else we were going to talk about. We have to get to the other thing in the title, and we have to talk Snyder Cut, because Eric and I have not talked it. We both watched it. You're excited to talk about it. I was dreading it. That's why I think I even put in the tweet where I said gulp.
Well, here's the thing. Do you want me to go first? Do you want me to?
You can, however, keep in mind in this new iteration of the show, we are trying to be more positive. Okay.
That's right.
I wanted to remind you of that.
Because I remember when the PJ Campbell, when there was the unwind about the Snyder Cut, and they're like, we want nothing but good things here. So I will tape my mouth for the rest of the segment. No, I will say.
Ooh, struggling.
Because here's my whole thing. I've come to this conclusion after watching it. Okay. We should have never had to have the hashtag release the Snyder Cut, because it should have been the cut to begin with. That should have been the original cut. Warner Brothers, in all their infinite wisdom and wanting to make sure they get their bonuses, rushed Justice League. Yes. I'm sure they could have given Zack Snyder enough time. If they had enough 6 months, they could have given him that time. He could have come back. He could have finished it. And then the Snyder Cut just would have been the cut.
Sure.
And I'm going to go with what Screen Junkie said on this, where the Whedon cut, bad. Snyder Cut,
better.
It was better. I'm not going to argue that fact.
Reeves says it was great.
Good.
I'm not going to lie to you. I watched it in 2 parts, and when I watched the first part, I may or may not have been under the influence of cannabis. Maybe.
Well, as you know me, Mr. Straight Edge, I watched it all in one setting.
All in one setting, dead sober.
Yeah, dead sober.
I'm sorry. This is something that like, and so, okay. So that's a little bit of and this is where a little bit of the fandom has seeped into my brain. I'll say this. I wanted it to be worse. I really didn't want this movie to work because I didn't want the trolls. I didn't want the toxic fandom. I didn't want them to be proved right that they had somehow like deserved this cut, like vitriol and death threats. Like this shit shouldn't happen. And I didn't want them to have something to hang their hat on. So that being said, I did enjoy it. I enjoyed it much more than the first one. I think having him being able to conclude his story was the proper way to go. It is very bloated, and at times it is very slow as well in both pace and in frame rate.
Can't we talk about the hot dog sequence once you're done?
The hot dog sequence. Just
Did
all
you
right.
really need to spend 7 minutes on this? Really?
Was that the whole Flash sequence?
Yes.
Okay. And that's the other thing is like, and it does tie into, I lied. There's one other bit of news that we didn't talk about, and it's hard to discount this news happening so quickly after the Snyder Cut was released, which was James Wan's The Trench and Ava DuVernay's New Gods both got pulled or shelved, as it were. And I want to read the statement too, just because they have not come out and said it was because of the Snyder Cut, but the official Warner Brothers release says, as part of our DC slate, some legacy development titles, including New Gods and The Trench, will not be moving forward. We thank our partners Ava DuVernay, Tom King, James Wan, and Peter Safran for their time and collaboration during this process and look forward to our continued partnership with them on other DC stories. The project will remain in their skillful hands if they were to move forward in the future. So it sounds like, you know how when bands aren't bands anymore, that they go on indefinite hiatus, they don't break up? That sounds like this.
Right.
So
a break is just a breakup taking longer.
Yeah. And I mean,
I don't want to say because of this that happens.
We don't know. We don't know for sure. We do know Darkseid was supposed to be,
and I'm not going to speculate. We're not here to do that.
Thanks, Manning. We don't know. Like they haven't, unless they come out and say it, we may never know. So it's one of those things where it was like, was it worth all the hullabaloo? Was it worth everything, like all the toxicity that came up around it?
I'd say no. I mean, did it need to be 4 hours long? No. But
doing
also
it in chapters is probably the right idea.
Yeah, chapters was the right idea. But my whole thing was also because of Warner Brothers' great direction with the DCEU. That Justice League movie alone is literally 2 movies. And you can tell that he wanted to make 2 separate movies, but Warner Brothers is like, no, 1.
And I mean,
same reason Batman v Superman was literally 6 movies put into 1.
It's also like you're giving someone creative freedom who can do the job, but you also like, it still seems so reactionary. And I was seeing people who were like, it's better than Endgame, and I'm like, is it? Because I don't agree with that at all.
Pump your brakes there, kids.
Like it was. I feel like when we saw the Snyder Cut, it was probably the best of what we could have got. Now the fact that they're trying to do like a black and white version, I'm like, come on. This horse is dead. This horse has been dead.
Not only that, now you also have the fight between WB and HBO on, because HBO wants to continue the Snyderverse, but Warner Brothers doesn't.
Well, then it's going to die because the rights lie with Warner Brothers, and so that's the end of that conversation. Unless HBO winds up ponying up a lot for those rights, we won't see it. And I'm not upset about it. I understand why there's the tease. Like they literally did a Marvel ending where they put in a tease to something that they don't have yet.
Well, I will say, like, while the Eclipse, the epilogue, I did like the Lex Deathstroke scene better than the one in the original movie.
Agreed.
That was great. And then yes, you have the like the Apocalypse scene. Like, I'm sorry, I still can't get over Amber Heard's random British accent. Yeah. Like all of a sudden her character has a British accent in this movie, and then she loses it in Aquaman. Wait, no. If the timeline is correct, she has it in Justice League. She loses it for Aquaman, and then she gains it back when Arthur dies.
Perfect.
I'm gonna give what he did for Arthur, all right.
It's one of those things that, like, especially in a time where they're already going to be going ahead, like axing movies with Ava DuVernay and James Wan, not happy about. No. And in a time where they're moving ahead with standalone films, like they said the Batman doesn't relate to anything. Clearly, the Suicide Squad doesn't relate to anything. And their best like commercial success has come from the movies that have stood by themselves in Shazam and in Aquaman.
Like, and Wonder Woman.
Yeah, like there's no reason to me that they should keep going with this. Like it's one of those things where like being on the internet and like trying to listen to chatter, like you're getting a very loud minority. They're getting what they want. However, when they didn't go and they didn't support those movies, or there wasn't the critical acclaim that they didn't have with Marvel, like they're spinning their wheels at this point. Like how many times, like if you look up the textbook definition of insanity, it's doing the same thing over and over again, but expecting a different result. So how many more times are we going to keep doing the same thing
over and over again
and expecting a different result? So I feel like it was like you gave it the good old college try, but I know I feel like inevitably 6 months from now we're going to be like,
how do we
here
get
comes
here?
the Snyderverse. Joaquin Phoenix is gonna be the
Hold on, let's see if I
Joker.
can do the sad trombone with one of these. No. But no, I also, to the defense,
100% communities, 100. Yeah, they need to. That was their. It seemed reactionary from day one, and I feel like that's what they're doing. What it seems like their other properties were doing now, they were actually doing their own thing because that's what their characters are, and that's what I hope they continue to do. Go ahead.
Now, I will also say, in defense of the Snyder Cut, I'm glad we actually got to see Cyborg, unlike in the Whedon cut.
That was the highlight of the movie for me.
Yep, that was a huge highlight. You could tell this was his story.
Oh my god, he got neutered. He got absolutely shafted. Oh, like it was night and day. The character was night and day. Where like I understood what they like to try to make it work in the theatrical. I guess that makes sense. But his character, you needed that. Like without a standalone movie, he needed the 40 minutes he got in the Snyder cut. You probably could have cut it down to 25, but even that would have been rushing it. Like,
but I feel like again, this movie could have easily been 2 hours 30 minutes, 2 hours 45, 3 hours.
Yeah, I think if you cut this to 3, you probably could have done it. But I also think, I guarantee that was a conversation they had, like Snyder and Warner's, where he was like, I want to do, I want to put all this stuff in there, and that's going to be a minimum 3-hour movie. And they're like, you got to make it 2.5. And I think the Whedon cut was under 230, if I remember correctly.
Let's
I can pull it up if you don't want to.
I'm already there.
Okay. I'm speculating.
It was just 2 hours flat.
Okay, that makes sense, because they were, especially since they were doing it to be solely focused on bonuses, they wanted more showings to get more butts and seats and some more tickets. So that makes sense.
That's right. I remember we actually had this conversation about that. Like, they literally, if they would have just added 30 more minutes, it would have been a better movie, maybe. But at the same time, like you said, they want to try to get more butts and seats, and it didn't happen.
It's one of those things where it was just like, we've been Monday morning quarterbacking the DCEU since it came out. But but that's the thing, we're affording that luxury, and they literally saw all the correct turns that they could have made, and they never made one right one. They never course corrected. We saw multiple points they could have done it, and this was like, I feel like it was the logical conclusion of how this extended universe had to end.
Well, I mean, as we discussed many times, the main problem with DC is, unlike Marvel, they never had an actual game plan, and everything was reactionary. Like they never had anyone to be like, no, this is the game plan. Here's how we're going. Because if you look at their movies, it really goes, this is their Marvel equivalent. So Man of Steel would be Iron Man.
Yeah.
Then the next movie, I believe, was Suicide Squad. So that's their
right before BDS.
Yeah. So that was their Guardians of the Galaxy. Then you have BVS, which is their Civil War, Captain America Civil War, and then Justice League, their Avengers movie. Like, so just try to watch those 4 Marvel movies in that order, and that's the equivalent of watching the DCEU.
It's so it's just so ridiculous. Like, it's one of those things. I can't even. How we got here. I'm not like I said. I'm not surprised. But I mean, I do hope they let this. I hope they keep going to. Just they get to the point where they're comfortable.
What I would like is they would ask Zack Snyder, how much further do you want to go? And if he says, I want to do 2 more movies, work it out and figure out if you want to do that. If he says, no, Justice League, that's it, I'm done. Say, hey, we've come to terms with Zack Snyder. This is the last Zack Snyder first movie. Period. The end. I mean, you're still going to have the fan backlash, but again, you are coming with you are letting him decide. You're not letting the internet decide for your studio and for him. Yeah.
Like, and it's one of those things where I'm happy we got like all the content. I'm happy we got to see it. And Cyborg got his due. I will say the thing I'm going to be possibly most upset about, not getting like a truly great standalone Henry Cavill Superman movie. Like I understood what Man of Steel was trying to accomplish, but like it was too close on the heels of The Dark Knight for them to really like get their own tone and really own it and really like and they kept it. They kept his similar tone. Like they kept him being more dour as things went on, which I get because that's just the tone of the character that they created. But it like he never got to be the beacon of hope. Like he got they didn't know what they wanted to do with the character, so we got to see that they didn't know what they wanted to do with the character in real time. And then all the backlash from the destruction porn, like it was. I don't think they'll be held in regard, like in high regard, because the heroes that we love to see all the time. But it's also not gonna like. I won't be disappointed when we get more movies.
Well, and the only thing I'm bummed about is we never got to see the Ben Affleck directed Batman film.
Yeah, and Mike, this is great. Yeah, and that's honestly one of the big reasons why Marvel was more successful is because Marvel Studios was themselves independent, and then they got like they even had like they got bought out. They had to deal with Paramount because if you remember way back in the day, the Incredible Hulk movie was a Paramount production, even though it's still in the MCU.
Yep,
and then they got bought out by Disney.
In fact, I always like to say, go back and watch that first Avengers trailer. They're trying to sell it like a Paramount action film.
I mean, and look at where we are now. 23 movies later, and now we're getting TV series that are dealing with like events that happen cosmically. Like it's wild. It's wild that we're seeing this all happen. I described that the other day on Twitter, where it was like Kevin Feige is show running a movie studio.
Yeah,
he just did 1 season of TV released to theaters, and the end of the season was Endgame.
I would say that was 3 seasons.
Could be, but I mean, even so, that's kind of shorter. But it's 23, so I would say maybe. I don't know if there's a hard midpoint though. Maybe Ultron was a hard midpoint.
Civil War,
but that happens so much later.
Yeah, you're right.
Anyway, that's a different show.
That's a different show for a different time.
Different show for a different time. I feel like I'm happy, and I'm.
Well, you should be happy because it's your birthday.
Well, I mean, I'm happy with the show we were able to carve out of a handful of topics.
That's right. Ruby's even here to wish you a happy birthday. Say hi.
Ruby's here to wish me a happy birthday. The mascot of Ramble. Thanks, Ruby. Ruby Soho. Yeah, I think that does it. I think that may be it for the.
We had some laughs. We had some guests. We had some serious conversations.
Mm-hmm.
We had some great comments from all of you.
Yes, thank you, everyone. But yeah, I feel good. I feel like this is a good stopping point. I feel like that it's a good catching up. We'll let you know as far as next week goes, because next week's going to be a little bit weird. I have my vaccination appointment on Thursday. We might be back on Thursday. We'll see what happens. See how I'm feeling. There's a cat down by my feet, and he's really adorable.
No,
I know. So we can see your floof. Can't see my floof. But yeah, anything else? Anything else you need to plug or talk about today, buddy?
Oh no, I'm good, buddy.
Well, thank you all for hanging around. Thanks for spending part of my birthday with me. It was a fun
birthday,
one.
Dan. Yay.
Thank you. It was a pretty relaxed and chill day. So looking forward to having some dinner tonight and winding down and have to go back to work tomorrow. So huzzah.
Hooray.
I guess hooray. Work is work. Yeah. But yeah, thanks everybody for hanging out. And we will see you next time. Ramble on.
Eggers away.